Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Time Traveler's Handbook. In this episode, we will be talking about Spyfall, which is Season 12, Episode 1 and 2, primarily just about Episode 2, but spoilers ahead regardless. In these episodes, the Doctor and her companions encounter a new carnation of the Master, employing an alien race known as the Kasavans to attempt to take over the world. I think that the Kasavan race is super interesting in the respect that they are an extra-dimensional race that hail from a pocket dimension, but can travel to and from the main universe at will. That's what I want to talk about with this episode, how the Kasavan work and the implications of this kind of a pocket universe. First, the Kasavan themselves kind of exist on a different plane than humans. They have the ability to move through physical objects and are primarily just comprised of energy. That energy directly links them to the Kasavan universe, which looks like an endless maze of tendril-like energy conductors. These tendrils are seen to have energy signals moving up and down them, moving them from one place to another, and it turns out that these energy signals are the Kasavan themselves. In essence, each of these tendrils leads a Kasavan from one point in time and space to another. So this pocket dimension is tied somehow to the fabric of time and space, connecting at certain points, with the downside of the Kasavan not being literal physical beings and having to exist in this other state of matter in order to exist in their universe. The Doctor discovers all of this after being transported to the Kasavan universe by a Kasavan who grabs onto her. She discovers in this way that the Kasavan are more like the end of a connection in the Kasavan universe, meaning that you can use a Kasavan to transport yourself to and from that universe. It's not just for the Kasavan, it's for anyone else that has access to one of them. Once you are in there, of course, the only way to get out is a Kasavan assisting you in escaping, because the physical location of the Kasavan universe is not tied at all to the Prime universe except by those connections. The Master also found a way to use another sort of device to transmit that energy signal to and from the Kasavan universe to be able to time travel that way as well. But that still hails from the same ideology that you have to have a Kasavan in order to move from one place to another. So, in a sense, traveling to and from the Kasavan universe is very similar to time travel, and as such, this presents a whole bunch of rules that time travel has to follow to work in the Doctor Who universe, as we've discussed previously. As it is a new form of time travel, and every form of time travel has to follow kind of the same structure in the universe. First, these tendrils will connect to a specific time and space coordinate, but the time is somehow moving along to ensure that you cannot return to the same time. This is to not contradict our rule that a time traveler cannot go to the same time period via time travel and meet themselves. They can, however, travel to a previous time and just live up to the point where they would have been before and encounter themselves again, but that's generally not a good idea unless you do remember that encounter previously, because then that's a paradox and that causes all sorts of problems. This leads to our next rule, that the Kasavan universe does have some sort of internal clock running, even if it's not at the same pace as the Prime universe. This makes sense because another character, Ada, encounters the Doctor in the Kasavan universe and mentions that she has been here before that point. If the universe didn't have some sort of an internal clock, then it's possible for Ada or the Doctor to have encountered themselves in that universe via going through different connections to that universe. So while it does connect themselves to other points in time and space, the universe itself keeps on moving along forward in time. This doesn't mean that time travel is necessarily impossible within the Kasavan universe, but it does mean that one would have to get a time machine to that universe in order to time travel. We've seen that going to pocket dimensions is possible for the TARDIS to do, and although it's very difficult and draining, it would certainly be possible to travel to the Kasavan universe and time travel to another point of time within that universe rather than using the tendrils. As long as this universe follows the same basic principles as the Prime universe of Doctor Who, you wouldn't be able to time travel and encounter yourself, of course, but anywhere else in that timeline would be fine to travel to. I think this is probably the coolest example of a pocket dimension that we see in Doctor Who, with the ability to be physically separate from the main universe, but also in a way function as though they were adjacent at all times. I like the visualization of the connections between the two universes being very clear, and it's easy to understand what's going on. And I really want to see more examples of pocket dimensions in this sort of vein where they're very well defined and everything that goes into the creation of these things follows the rules of the universe. And I want to see this more in other time travel fiction. Next time, we're going to do a quick episode on the episode Orphan 55. As always, thank you for listening.